Hi everyone, and welcome. My name is Michelle Pethley, and I am the owner of Shelley's Wreaths and More. And today I am going to go through the Trendy Tree Seasonal Supply box for November 2024 and get inspired. And after I show you all that came in the box, I'm going to put together a wreath. Okay, so what comes in this box? First off, this box is not a wreath kit. I just want to make sure that you know that. It's an inspirational box, and it's always seasonally put together, meaning that, you know, in this one, it's all winter items. Obviously, as we approach winter, a perfect box to make a wreath out of or make a centerpiece. Anything that you can think of. What comes in this box is all that you see here. It's a very generous box. And it is meant to inspire you. It's, you know, gives you a lot of different things to work with and let your imagination run away and do what you want to do. Okay, so let's go quickly through what comes with it. It comes with a white eucalyptus bush. This is just a eucalyptus bush that has a little bit of snow on it, a little sugar coating. I'm hoping that the camera can pick up on that. It's very lightly sugared. It's actually very beautiful. It's a great color. I would use this for Christmas as well as winter, and because of the bright green, I think I would even push it a little bit into the spring. It can appear dewy at times, so I think it would even cover the sugar coating or the glitter. Would not stop me from using it for the spring. The next thing that the box comes with is a snowy pine cone spray. Now this looks... The pine cones on here are plastic, but they are beautiful. They are beautiful plastic. You can't tell that they're plastic in person. The only reason I know they're plastic is pine cones don't generally grow like this. But in any case, this is a beautiful, beautiful spray. The pine cones are very nicely shaped, and you get lots of different sizes. It's just going to be an incredible spray to use. The next thing you get are 2 of these gold glitter fern sprays. All right, what can I say about these? These are absolutely gorgeous. You can use these for anything that you put your mind to. It can be obviously Christmas. It can go into, you can use it in the fall. You can use it if you're a designer and you do Mardi Gras, perfect for Mardi Gras. It's also perfect for St. Pat's Day. It's actually perfect for anything that you can think of. So you get 2 of these, and you know, you can separate these and cut them off individually or use the whole spray at once. The next thing I'm going to show you is the gray and white fuzz plaid mesh. Not much to say other than this is going to be perfect for anything that you want it to be. Again, it's just a very useful mesh to have in your arsenal. Next is an 18-inch berry pine mix. Okay, it's got white berries on it. It's frosted. You can see there's lots of different foliage on here. We've got pines, all different kinds of pines. We have the berries. And the flat leaf. It's a beautiful, beautiful spray or pick as well. It can be cut up several different branches to add to your design. Okay, the next thing is a rotary cutter. And boy, this couldn't come at a better time. My rotary cutter was getting very dull. This is going to be a very useful tool. You also get this gray. It's gray and gold and white. It's got flecks of white in it. Ribbon, it's 2.5 inches. And obviously it goes perfectly with the sign if you want to use it. You also get the 7/8 inch velvet. And on the back is satin. And then the last thing that comes in this box is this Trendy Tree exclusive sign. It's gold with gold pine cones, and you can see the winter spray and the poinsettias. No, those are magnolias, I believe. But either way, it's a beautiful winter sign. It doesn't say anything to me about Christmas. While it can be used for Christmas, what I'm saying is that if you design with this, you can put it up and probably in the beginning of December and keep it all the way up through the end of January, maybe even push it into February. It's that universal of a sign. So with that being said, and I do want to point out that Trendy Tree, when you're part of the subscription supply box, every month you get a code for percentage off. This is a very generous company. Trendy Tree really takes care of its subscribers. So with that being said, let me tell you what kinds of things I'm thinking of here. I want to design with the sign. This is the inspiration of the kit, I think, or the box, I should say. But it certainly has inspired me. My problem is, though, I don't know what I want to do. If I want to design it on you're going to just bear with me for 1 second. I've got a whole bunch of little things back here that I've pulled out of my stash to help me design. I just went and pulled out different pine sprays and just things that I think are going to complement the wreath that I'm going to make using this sign. My problem is what base do I want to use? I have a grapevine wreath base, and with this, it's rather large. That's what I think I'm fighting with. It's kind of a large wreath base, but I don't like my signs hanging off, so actually it might just be perfect if I attach the sign here, you know, possibly have a bow. Actually, I was thinking the bow down here because you can see this void space. So maybe if we attach the sign up here and then built around it, leaving this space for a bow that kind of drapes down. I would certainly put flowers and all different pine sprays in there to fill in this big area. And that way the sign doesn't have to go off the side of the wreath. Now the other idea I had was, oops, my granddaughter won't be happy with this. She made me this bracelet and I just snagged it. So what I'm going to do is just take it off. Lexi, I'm just going to put it on the side until I'm done with this wreath. That way I don't break it. Okay, the other idea I had was to use a flocked wreath base. Now this flocked wreath base, size-wise it's perfect. I mean, it would work just fine. And what I could do with this flocked wreath base, I can add mesh if I wanted to. I have a gold mesh that would kind of brighten up the perimeter of the wreath. I certainly wouldn't put in a lot. I would probably put in just enough to kind of break up the green, and then you know, fill in with all the mix of the long needle pine here that is prevalent in the sign. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and I know that I definitely am going to design with this and make a wreath out of it. So I think after looking at all the options, I'm going to go with my flocked wreath base. Kind of put the sign a little off center, gives me room for a big bow, and that way the bow doesn't take up, you know, it fills in the void of the sign without covering up any of that. Let me show you what I found in my stash. Couldn't have been more perfect. But look at this flower. Matches that sign perfectly. So I think this is the way I'm going to go. I've cleared off my desk, and I just want to quickly prepare our sign. The way I'm going to do that is just going to use a jewelry punch. Punch 4 holes, 1 in each of the corners. Then I just fasten pipe cleaners through these. And since I'm putting them in the corner, you really won't, it won't show. Plus with the greenery, it's going to cover up anything that you won't see it at all. For me, it's the most secure way of putting in the sign. Okay, so just have some white pipe cleaners here. I'm just going to quickly put them, thread it through the hole. All right. Twist it off through the back. It's going to look like a bunch of spaghetti. The sign is anyway until I put it in. Okay, so as I said before, I'm going to put a little mesh in just to give this color. Not necessarily to build out or overtake the pine, but rather to give the base a little bit of brightness. Because you can see right now it's kind of a dark base. Even though it's got white flocking on it, it's still dark. So I'm just going to try to lighten it up a little bit with just a few, maybe 6 or 8 pieces of mesh tied in the center of the wreath, the center of the 2 rails. Okay, here's our spaghetti. Put that off to the side for now. Grab it when we're ready. Okay, now what you need to do is just open up. Now this is I'm trying to think if it's an 18-inch. Let me see what this tag said. I got it from Joann's. And it is a 24-inch base. So let's just quickly open up these. And you can see that there's a lot of room in between. So the mesh is going to help us fill in that space as well. And what I'll do is I'll take a tie from the top and tie from the bottom and put the mesh in that way. So, so it's just to fill in that middle part that's kind of open. You'll see it's got 2 rings on it. It's a elevated wreath frame with 2 rings. Problem is that these pine ties are so they're a little bit shorter than normal. You know, all wreaths are different, but this particular one is a little bit shorter. So, and every once in a while one falls off. No big deal. Just quickly go around this. Should have done this off camera so that you didn't have to watch me. It's like watching paint dry, isn't it? It takes so long. But once it's done, and it'll make it easier, much easier to put things into the wreath that we want. Now I have some gold balls. I'm just kind of going through my mind as I'm sitting here doing this, what I have in my stash, and I'm thinking I have gold ornaments. That would be a pretty addition to this. I wish those pine cones, if I had a can of gold pine spray, or gold paint spray, I'd paint the pine cones, kind of give them just a little bit of a gold tint. You know, the pine cones that came in this box. I thought that would be a nice, but I looked through my paint. I don't have any gold, and so we'll just forego that for now. But it would be a good thing. It would blend in perfectly with the sign. It would tie everything together with the sign. But I think the frosted pine cone branches will look just fine in here, even though they're not gold. I have another couple of other gold things. Of course, the gold fern spray that came with this box, I'm going to use that. That'll bring in some gold. And then I do have a gold eucalyptus that I could cut off, you know, and piece around the wreath as well. And you can see I'm going to use this gold and silver mesh. Just to, like I said, we're not going to make a mesh wreath out of this. We're just going to give it a little bit more fullness. give us a place to glue our items into. It'll just add a little bit of sparkle to this wreath frame. Well, I hope you all have a chance to get on the Trendy Tree supply box list. It's a subscription, comes every month. It's very, very, very good. You get a lot for your money. They really put a lot of thought into their box. Their products tie together nicely. They carry a lot of products on their website or on even their app that you can fill in with. I do a lot of shopping with Trendy Tree. I've never been disappointed with any of the products. So they do take a lot of time in putting these boxes together. And every time that box comes, it's always it's like a little Christmas gift or a little present, because you don't know what to expect. You just know it's going to be seasonably appropriate. So, okay, so there we have it. And you can kind of see that we do have, like where my hand is, we do have a lot of space that needs to be covered up a little bit. So we'll take and set this aside. Get the snow blocking off of our work area. Okay. And then I'm going to just take and cut my mesh. Take my new cutter out. Rotary cutter. Like I said, this couldn't have come at a better time. You know, I talk to people who make wreaths and they have never replaced their blades. They never have an issue, but I think mine seems to be dragging lately, so work nicely. So I think I'm going to just sorry for the noise. Put that to the side. I'm going to just take and cut. I'm going to start with 8. Let's see, I'll just turn it upside down so it doesn't roll off. And let's do 18 inches, 8 at 18 inches. Okay. More than one way to do this, huh? Okay. Quickly cut it. My mat is 36 inches, so even though I'm starting at the 35 point, I'm going to the 18 inch. Oops. That's 2. Let's work smarter, not harder. Since this is 18 inches, 36 inches. Let's do 2 at once. How's that? 3. Down an inch. 4. 5. 6. Okay. I'm doing 8. I've used less than half this roll, so that gives me another project to use this mesh on. Okay. Start by adding this. I'm just going to roll these in cruffles. Just turn over the first, make a roll, turn it onto itself. then just ruffle it up the middle and then put another curl on the end. You put the curls on the end to minimize the fraying of the mesh. Okay, so you have a curl and a ruffle, hence the cruffle. Okay, so let's just put one in here. You see, it's not really filling it up. Actually, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to move it. I'm going to move this cruffle. I put that originally on the lower frame. I'm going to use 2 ties from the top so that the cruffle ends up just, it stays in the wreath. It doesn't, see, the pine is still longer than the mesh. So the mesh ends up just filling up the middle part. If I put it on the lower ring, the ties on the lower ring, like I did on the first, the mesh hangs over the edge, and I don't really want that look. I want it to be more, I want the mesh to just kind of blend in. I don't want it to stand out. So this, to me, is the better way of putting it in. Okay, I'm just going to go around, find 2 on the top ring, twist it together. Okay, and see how the edge of the wreath is still the pine wreath. It's not the mesh coming off. Okay, let's just quickly do the remaining. Just going to butt them up next to each other. Again, all I'm doing is just curling the edge onto itself, and that way the cut edge is actually curled inside. I take and turn it over so that the curls are facing down. There's no right or wrong way. You put your mesh in however you want to do that. So again, just maybe give you a little bit better view, just pushing this down and turning that cut edge on top of itself. And then I just scrunch along the middle, and then just take the other side, turn it onto itself. There you have it. And I just kind of, once it's in there, and see, you'll see these frays. This is why we make the curl to begin with. It turns that cut edge inward. Okay. Oops. Let me show you again. Fold it on top of itself a couple of times. Then just with your fingers, walk the mesh to the other end. Curl this in. And then like I said, I just turn it over. Something I've always done. It's not right or wrong. It's just my way of doing it. Okay. Got 2 more, and it looks like we have perfect spacing. How about that for lucky? Pick out 2 ties, across from each other, and twist them in. And here's our last one. Just roll, pinching it. It's basically accordion pleating the mesh on top of itself. when you're scrunching it together in the middle. Okay, and here's our last one. Okay, you can see that it really isn't dominating, the mesh isn't dominating the wreath, but it certainly has made it brighter. Okay, so now let's start with put our sign in. Remember I said that I wanted the void kind of down here so that I can put a big bow, all right, and then we'll stuff it with all the other things that we want to stuff in there. So I'm going to take and just feed this through, and I'm going to catch the ring, that top ring on the back. I want to make sure that my pipe cleaner, sorry, it took me a little time to just gather up that word in my mind. Pipe cleaner goes around the ring. I'm going to turn it over and show you. And I don't pull it really tight at first because I don't want it to necessarily suck down into it. But, okay. Then I come across to this one. Let's go across here. Let's do this on the other one. Again, I'm just going through the mesh and the pine, and I'm just making sure that my pipe cleaner straddles one of the bars, one of the rings of the wreath frame. Okay. Okay, we'll quickly do that with the other two. Push it down, catch a bar. I never really cut my tails or the ends from underneath until I'm almost done with the wreath. Of course, the reason for that is if you change your mind, it's much harder to get those short little ties back through the wreath. So I keep them long until I'm almost done with the wreath, to make sure that I'm happy with where it's placed. Okay. And this is the last one. Put it through, and I'll flip it over and show you real quick that each one of these ties go around the bar. You need x-ray vision to see me doing it, so let me turn it over and show you. See, it straddles, each tie is around a bar. Oh, I say that, but look at this. I didn't make this on this one. Not hard to fix though, because there's a bar right here. There we go. Okay, now it's on the bar that connects the two rings. Okay. So there we have it. All right. All right. This is a constant shedder, I'll tell you that. All right, now, what I would suggest doing now is, let's add the additional greenery that we want in here, because then we can put our bow on, and maybe, let me show you real quick. Maybe I'll make the bow real quick and just show you how I'm planning on placing it. Now, this ribbon came with the box. It's the white velvet 7/8 inch ribbon. This I have in my stash, but could you ask for a more perfect match? So I'm going to start, this is a 4-inch ribbon, so that's going to be my back of the bow. And then I have this kind of a creamy velvet ribbon that has a gorgeous backing on it. It's a gold backing. So that's going to show up very nicely. And I'll show you one of the things you can do with these. You push everything out of the way with these double-sided ribbons. It's pretty cool because you can make it look like you have two ribbons instead of just one. I'm going to start by putting my pipe cleaner down through the two poles. All right, that's going to be the bottom of my bow. Okay, then look at the gorgeous back on that. Woo. I'm going to take and use probably, since the bow is sitting at the bottom, I can have a slightly longer tail, but I don't want it too long because it's a thick 4-inch ribbon. So I'm going to go with, this is 8 inches here from the midpoint to the end. That's 8 inches, and I'm going to just go 2 more inches off of that using my mat. So I have a 10-inch tail. I'm going to just scrunch it up the middle, put it down through the pole, and then twist. Okay, I'm twisting. I'll show the twist again. You twist so that the outside of the ribbon comes back over the top. So I'm going to make a 7-inch loop. I'm going to twist again. My left hand with my watch is coming forward. My right hand is going, my left hand is coming back. My right hand is going forward, and it's creating that twist. Okay, but then you can see now that the ribbon comes around the top, and that's the way that we want it to be. I'm going to do 7 inches here. Now this is the last one I'm doing, so I'm just going to compress it. No twisting is necessary at this point. Just compress that ribbon down and then cut the length you want. Now we're going to fold over the ribbon. So I'm going to have a slightly, I'm going to cut it slightly longer so I can fold over the back of that ribbon. Okay, so all I'm doing is just folding it over. Get you in the frame. Just taking that edge and folded it over. And there we go. Now, I'm going to probably have to glue this a little bit, which is fine. Just put a little dab of glue on it. And that will hold it in place. There we go. Okay. And that comes up to the top of the bow, and this one is at the bottom of the bow. Okay, so let's do our next ribbon. I'm going to use the 2.5 velvet with the gold on the back. This one is folded over as well. It holds pretty well. Okay. Oops, let's get this out of the way. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start at the top part of my V here. I'm going to twist it. And then make the loop. Now here I am twisting again. I'm going to twist away from me with my left. No, I'm sorry. It's going to come to me on my left, away from me on my right. Now that I have totally confused you, I apologize. Let's try this one again. No, we're not going to need to twist this one because this is coming down. We're done. You only need to twist if you have more loops to make. When you're done with your final loop, you just bring it down. Sorry if you hear my dog, he's growling at somebody in the background. Okay. And all I do is I'm making an X with the tails and the loops, and I'm alternating which side the loops and tails are on. Okay, now remember I said we can make 2 out of this one? I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm just going to dovetail the end. I'm going to put it in on the gold side. Just going to put it up through the middle of the bow. Just simply take a strip of that. But because it's gold, it looks like a completely different ribbon. There we go. Okay. Now I have a white kind of glittered ribbon. This is out of my stash. It didn't come in the box from Trendy. You can see it's glittered. It's got the flat glitter on it. Okay. And we need to, I'm going to dovetail it. Just fold the ends together and then cut from the fold to the open part. Gives you that dovetail. All right. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to twist away from me on my left, towards me on my right. One more time. Towards me on my left, away from me on my right. And that's just because we're on the other side of the poles. It switches off there. Okay, let's cut this. Take our time when this is all put together and we'll fluff it out. But it does help alternating back and forth with the, making the X's. Okay. There we go. And then the last ribbon is the velvet that came in the box. Now I know it's white on white, but the nice thing about this is it's two different textures. One is that the velvet, which is kind of a softer look, and then the glitter is a brighter look. So even though they're white on white, they will be a little bit different. Now I'm just going to cut this in a knife edge. Just cut it straight across when it comes to a point like that. I think they call that knife edge. I'm going to start at the top with my X. Do the same thing. Oops. Make the loop twist. I'm going to have to just stop telling you how I'm twisting because I've gotten it wrong every time. Okay, it just is, it comes natural to you the more and more you make bows, you'll see that it just kind of, it comes naturally to you. Okay. Knife edges there. And you can see, I hope the camera is bringing that up. The two ribbons definitely stand apart, even though they're white, because of the sparkle, excuse me, of the glitter. That makes a big difference. Okay, so let's take a zip tie. I run it along the bottom, underneath, make sure that it's underneath that pipe cleaner. Shimmy it to the middle of the bow, and then just bring it up the edge of the poles in the middle. Okay, just zip it together. I zip it together and then use it to lift the bows out of that spot. And you see I'm just moving now. The zip tie is going to go between the poles. And then I'll tighten it down. Pretty much, it's pretty tight before I take it off. That saves on holding it in your hand. Now just pull it as tight as you can. The tighter you get it, the more your bow will fluff out. Okay? Just break away. Give my dog a little chew toy to keep him from growling. The last thing we need to hear is him growling. Okay, so here's our bow. Now we're just going to take and pull the loop and the tails in opposite directions to fluff this. And this gold, of course, is just a piece that we put through to give it some brightness. And then I'm going to separate this loop this way and this loop this way. Kind of, so you can see we have, and then just fluff it up. Okay, let's do this side real quick. We've already done the 4-inch ribbon. We're going to take in the tail of the white velvet. I'm just going to pull it opposite directions of the loop. Okay, the gold is the next one. Just going to pull that straight across, and then the glitter, and finally the white velvet. Okay, so you see how they kind of all spread out, fill in the windows, fill in different little spots in your bow. All right, so there we have our bow. Just like curling ribbon, remember those packages, how we used to wrap gifts in the old days with that curling ribbon? Just use your hand and it'll curl the ribbon the same way, the wire that's in the ribbon. All right, so there we have it. If we bring it over, this is the spot that I'd like the bow to go in. Okay, we have the tails. See how it kind of hugs it forms kind of an L shape. The bow and the tail, the loop and the tail of the same ribbon. And it kind of hugs that along the sign, the corner of the sign. So let's put that in real quick. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put it through and make sure that you catch the ring of the wire frame, and I'll be better this time. Make sure I do it. Now, and then pull your bow down really as strongly as you can so it kind of fills in that spot. Now you can adjust it as soon as you get the bow tied in, okay? Underneath, I'm just twisting my Chanel stem or pipe cleaner. As soon as you get it in, you can take and adjust these loops just by, you're the boss of this. Make sure it goes where you want it to go. Okay. Kind of want these tails to come down the end. Want it to hang down a bit. And I'll probably fluff this bowl 100 times before we're done with this. Now, what I've made a decision here is that I don't know if I like this blunt look of this ribbon. So I think I'm going to just take and fold it. Even though I started it out, I am going to dovetail it here. I think I like that. To me, it just draws my eye down more. All right, instead of the fold. The fold works sometimes, but today it's just not hitting me. So I'm going to dovetail all of the ones that we have previously folded, just to elongate the ribbon and the look of the ribbon. See, to me, it just changes that. And I'm going to just make this one a little bit shorter so it doesn't compete with the 4-inch that we have. See, each tail is just a little bit different length. You really don't know that until it falls in, you put it in the wreath and you see how it all falls. Okay, so that's good. This one's dovetailed. Let's just quickly dovetail these two up here. Okay, all you're doing is, this is the one I glued, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to fold, but it'll all work out. Just cut from the fold to the edges. There you go. And one last one here. Just going to fold it and cut from the fold. Gives you that dovetail. Okay? All right. This one can be just a little bit shorter. There we go. Okay, now let's fill in. First thing I'm going to fill in with are those 3 little magnolias that I had. Let me just get them real quick. I didn't want to grab them and have the whole stack fall over. I've got quite a stack here. Okay, now I know I'm going to use these gold. I'm going to bring those up. And I know that I want to use some long needle pine. Those came from my stash. The long needle pine did. Okay, the gold fern did come with the box. I do want to use the sugar-coated eucalyptus. And then I do have a few other gold items. We'll just see if we need them at that point. But I did bring them just in case. Okay, so let's start with the long needle pine. That's the longest part of it. So sorry for the choppy nature of this. I'm trying to do this with my dogs in my craft room, and they are just causing me a lot of angst. Okay, so I'm just going to take this pick and cut it apart. All right. You see that there's 3 of them on here, and this one's a little bent, but just everything is wired. All you have to do is just bend it to the way that you want. Okay. I'm not going to use this pine cone. It's a little too dark. Woo! This is testing my metal today. Use the table. There we go. Woo! All right. Pull off that. Get rid of the pieces we're not going to use. Okay, let's do that for the other pick. And my thought process on this one is that I'm not going to put this long needle all the way around. I want to keep this long needle close to the bow to kind of accent the bow. And then, because the flowers are going to hug the bow as well. There we go. Woo-wee. Let's get rid of this pine cone real quick. If we use any pine cones in this at all, I'm going to use the ones that came with the box because they have that frosted look to them. Okay, so just kind of dry running it here. I'm just looking where I want these to go. See, I kind of want them to, I'm going to put them in 3s. You know that 3s help your eyes. If you put triangular placement of things in your wreath or in your arrangements, help your eyes to move through the arrangement. That's why a lot of the picks and everything come in 3s, because that's the ideal way to design. Or certainly designing in odd numbers is another, you know, you can design however you want. There's really no rules, however. There's just general things that you can follow. See how it just is lightly coming out? I'm just putting them tucking them in. Now I do have another one of these sprays, so if we feel like we need more of that, we can certainly add more, but let's see if I can move this up just a bit to show you a little bit better. Have it all kind of filled in. You see the 3 down here? Okay, so let's still dry running it, meaning I'm not gluing anything yet. Let's place our other bigger items, and that would be these magnolias. Now you can see that they've got glitter on the edge. They're velvet. They kind of tie in the flower, the texture of the bow, the ribbon and the bow. Just open it up. Give it a little love. Okay, so we have 3 of these as well. And I'm just eyeballing it to see. There's one. This one's opened already. Must have been practicing with this one to see if I liked it or not. Now, I honestly can't remember where I got these from. I know that Trendy Tree has plenty of magnolias on their site, their website, so I'm not sure if I got this from them or from another vendor. Okay, and let's put our 3rd one down below the bow. And you know that when you come to the bow, it's called kind of a transition point. So everything above the bow should go up. Everything below the bow should come down. So we're going to just angle this down. Okay, and make it look like the bow is coming right out of that. Now I know that the something that's snagging. I know that the ring light is giving you a shadow there, so I'm trying to get that out of the way. Okay. I'm not sure if I want that to come over a little bit more this way. I think that would be better. And to give these a little bit of space, let's see if we can get the bow in between it, a ribbon. But by giving it a little bit of space. Now you don't want your buds to face the same way. You don't want them to look like headlights, or so, you know, bring one upwards, tilt it upwards, take the other one out sideways. You know, see how they're facing. They're not all facing directly at us. They're kind of okay, so they're angled a little bit. So I'm happy with this right now. It looks a little stark, but that's because we have to add in all of this, the little goodies that we've brought. So let's glue in what we have. Okay, and then we can add all these other little gold and white things. Now I have my glue pot over off camera, and all I'm going to do is, let me move this out of the way. I'm just going to take and hold my finger where I'm pulling this from so that I remember to put it right back in the same spot. So I just take and put the glue on it and then stick it right back in that same spot. Okay? I'm going to do that with, I have 3 flowers and 6 of the pine stems. So I know that I just have to remember that I got to glue in 9 things. Okay, pull this one out. When I glue it back in, I'm trying to make sure that I hit some of that original the pine wreath with the glue. Once that hits that, it's going to stick really well. Okay, so I'm not just gluing this to the mesh. I'm taking the stem that I'm gluing in and I'm getting it down to the wreath base as best I can. That's going to assure that it's in there for good. You know, sometimes if you just glue it to the mesh, it's a little bit weaker of a bond. It'll still work, but your best bet is to get that down to the pine of the base, and that will definitely keep it in there for you. Don't be afraid to be an aggressive gluer. Okay, 2 more pieces of pine. My last piece of pine is this right here. Okay, just wanted to lay down a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Now, the other things that we're going to add to this, we're going to put around the whole wreath, not just around the bow, but around the whole wreath. Now, this is the white eucalyptus bush that came with the box. All right, I'm just going to cut off all of the stems. Now this is not a pusher. A pusher is one that you can move the stem, all the leaves up and down the stem. This is not one of those. So what I'm going to do to make this, to stretch this product a little bit further, is I'm going to take each stem and kind of divide it. See, there's kind of a natural break here, so I'm going to just cut this at the natural break. And we get 2 for the price of 1. Okay, so let me do that on all of them just real quick. Just kind of find the natural break. Some of the stems are going to be different because of the length that they originally started at. So some of our cuts will have multiple bunches on it. Some will just have single, but it'll all work. And again, it's just trying to make the product go a little bit further, because we only have 1 of these bushes. Just a few more cuts, and then it's just gluing and sticking. I'm just gonna stick them in the glue and then place them all over the wreath. Again, we want to make sure that we do the part of the wreath that doesn't have the bow and the flowers on it now. We want to give that a little bit more love. I must have picked the oldest wire cutters I have. They are causing me some problems. Okay, so this is what I meant. We're just going to go around, stick them in. Just give your wreath dimension, okay? And in order to do this, I just take and stick it around, and you remember you want to go high and low throughout your wreath, kind of zigzag around your wreath, all right? And once this is all in, then this one's kind of a longer one, so I'm going to hold back on this one here. Maybe, there we go. And get just a slightly shorter one up at the top here. I don't want it to be sticking out beyond the rim. Okay, but you see how it just kind of, I'm going up and down. This one was high. Now I'm going to go onto the lower ring down here. I'll go high up here. I'll go low down here. And the reason I like to kind of put these in dry first is to make sure that I get all the way around the wreath. And you know, you don't want to get halfway around and run out of product. So That's why I usually just space it out. Okay. Space it out and then glue it in. And I do that pretty much all the time, just to make sure that I like the way it looks. And even under the bow, it's important to even do it under the bow. We have 2 more pieces left. With this one, I'm just going to put them in. I think we need 1 more over here. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go around and glue. I'm going to start under the bow so I know that that's where my starting point is. And just look for each one that I put in. Again, just stick it in your glue and try as best you can to get the pine of the wreath base. Just glue it to the pine of the wreath base. Now I will admit to you that there have been times where I've gone around on my dry run and thought that I had all of the pieces glued in. And then I'd go to take a picture of my wreath and a piece will fall right out at my feet. So this isn't a fail-proof method, but I think in the long run it's a better way to do it. Especially, like I said, if you only have 1 bush, you just want to make sure it goes all the way around your wreath. If that's what you're intending to do anyway. And that's surely what I'm doing here. And if you do the zigzag pattern high and low, then you're giving your wreath a lot of dimension, and you're not forgetting the lower part of that wreath, or the part that's the higher part, depending on where you're looking at it. Okay, we're almost full circle, coming to the end. I have 2 more, this one and 1 more. And this is my last one. And I'm back to where I'm started. Okay. Now the next thing we want to put in a different shaped leaf. So I'm going to use the gold fern that came came in the box. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these off. Let's start with cutting the long ones. Let's see where they're. Make sure I'm getting this on camera for you. I've gotten 3, 4, 5 cuts out of this. Okay. Let's take this off. I'm going to use both of them, and I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with the frosted eucalyptus. Let me cut this other one up and make it quicker. I'm going to cut it off in 5, so I'll have 10 stems to place on my wreath. Make sure I'm getting this on the camera. There we go. Okay, so we have 10 of these. Let's just start again at the bow, down at the bow, the bottom of the bow, and put them in. Now these are going to be a little bit longer, so you definitely have to take the time to really nestle it in there. Okay, it's okay that they come out. But you want to make sure that they're grabbing something. So that's what I mean by nestling them in there. Make sure they're going deep. this one, I think I want it to come out a little bit like that. Okay. I am also, again, using the up and down method when I'm putting these in. Going back and forth between high on the frame, lower on the, lower on the frame. These are all wired, so you can kind of bend them to give them some life. Add a little texture to these. Okay. Okay, my last one, coming down to the other side of the bow. And there we go. Let's see what it looks like in the camera before we glue. I think the only one that's upsetting me is this one here. It's not laying how I want. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. And then just kind of sprinkle it more into the mesh. And give us a little bit more coverage. Let's see what this looks like here. Let's go underneath that one. Nope. See, this area over here, the camera needs a little something. And this one is a lazy branch, so I'm going to cut off the lazy branch and use it someplace else. It's just hanging over like, I don't want to be here. So I'm going to make him a member of this party over here. Okay, so I think, and actually what I'm going to do is put it more in the bow because we don't have any gold really coming out of the bow. So I'll put it up there. And I'm just going to start with that one so I don't forget to glue it. Just going to catch this eucalyptus branch that I had before. There we go. Give it a little gold up there. Okay, so let's just quickly go around, starting underneath my bow again so I know where to start. And just glue them in, and when you wedge them in there, make sure with the glue that they're like, I'm going to touch this pine with it. The pine underneath the sign. There we go. Just make sure that it's adhering to the pine base. I mean, really looking at this wreath, I'm so glad I used that mesh because it definitely softened it and gave it a dimension, a different dimension than just the, there we go, just a pine wreath. So now, if you know, when you're designing and you think that you're happy with it, and, you know, when you hang it up on the wall and look at it, when you take a picture, that usually helps really solidify what your wreath looks like, is looking at it through a picture, on a picture. And if you're unhappy with something, you know, you can come back, cut it out. You could cut out the item that's bugging you. You can, like, cut it in half and stick it other places. You know, nothing is permanent until you're happy with it. So just take your time and really look at it when you're if you're not doing it on camera like I am, because I can look in the camera and see some of the spots that I have trouble with, you know, or that needs improvement. And but that doesn't mean that when I go to take a picture for my Etsy shop, there have been times where I'm like, whoa, no, that looks I'm not happy with how that turned out. So I'll just go back and kind of rework it a little bit, because like I said, you can just trim off the pieces that are bugging you. Okay, I think that's it. Nope, I have one more. Oh, see, I would have forgotten this one. All right. Okay. Now the next thing that I feel this needs is something wispy. I have this. This is the wonderful 60919. I was going to see if this, but you know, because we have the golden here, I'm actually rethinking this one. And instead of putting this in, instead of putting more golden, let's pick up more white. Okay, and the way I was going to do that is I was going to use these white berry sprays. Okay, this gives it another texture, gives it another shape. I mean, berries are different than the leaves that we put in. So let's do that. Let's break up this berry pick and put it in. And that may be all that we need to give us, it brings in the white. We'll do it again throughout the whole wreath. If we need to use two, I think we're going to end up needing to use two. But let's start and see how this pick breaks up. See, and this is all you really need to do is when you look at your products, just see where you can cut them. See how I have the small berries on one side, the big berries on the other. Let's start by breaking those up. So that must be how this pick is put together, that the big berries are on one branch and the smaller berries are on the other branches. So what I'm going to suggest that we do is we're going to look at these picks. Oh my goodness. I do have a stem cutter, but it's not here. It's in my storage area, and I've taken up enough of your time already, so I'm trying to do this. Okay, whew, that was a good sound. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to this pick. And I'm going to hope that they have the same number of branches that have big and small on it. So let's see. This is the big. And what we'll do is we'll quickly separate them so that we have all the big berry balls on one. And that way when we put them in the wreath, we don't end up with, you know, two big berry balls next to each other, taking up a whole bunch of room, and then all the little ones, you know, we just want to spread them out. Okay, here comes the dreaded. Let's see if I can just do it this way. Oh, that's what I'll do. Just peel it off. Okay, there we go. So, let's get all of this out of the way. Anything we're not using, that will declutter the screen for you. Okay, now I have, these are the small berries. And these are the big berries. Small berries. So it looks like we have 4 big berries. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the small berry clusters. Okay, so that makes it easy. We're just going to take the 4 and sprinkle them, the 4 big ones, Let's just make sure that they're spread out throughout the wreath. Okay, and maybe one more down here by the flowers. Coming up by the flowers down here. Okay. Now let's fill in the other areas with these small berries. I'm going to put one down here. Okay. Put one down here. Not quite sure I like it there, so let's do it here, on this side of it. Now see, in this case, trying to get it in, I'm going to just cut these in half because I'm having trouble getting these in deep enough. And look at that, we have more to fill in if we want. So like I said, don't be afraid to just alter your picks a little bit. Let's see if we cut this one. Same thing. Okay, makes the product go a little bit further. And you may not think you see this under the bow, but believe me, you know, everybody is different heights, so the people knocking at your door will be shorter than sometimes looking up into this. You know, you just have to remember, fill it all in. Let's put a little bit up here in the bow a little bit. See what that looks like. I'm going to divide this one up as well. So really, I pretty much took and divided these berries up. The little ones, the smaller clusters, I cut them up quite a bit. Okay, so let me see. I think the only one that we didn't cut up are the ones that we started with up here. And let's just get a little bit more out of them. They can be more of in the shadow. There we go. This is the last one. And now we just have to go through and glue these all in. Oops. Make sure I cut it at the right spot. Okay. And this will be the last one right here. There we go. All right. That looks really pretty good. Kind of happy with the placement so far. Okay, so let's start the gluing process. I always start at the bow, so I'm going to start at the corner here, and I'm telling you out loud so that you can see that that's pretty much how I have to remember. I'm going to start at the corner with the big one, the big ball cluster. And I'm going to just start going around. And again, when I'm tucking it in, trying to get that glue, I'm trying to get it to stick to the original pine frame, pine branches of the original. You know, if you go systematically, take your time, you'll get them all glued in. I like how the larger ones, the larger berries, kind of are in the foreground, and then these little ones kind of fill in the background. It's a very interesting look. Okay. Oh, just dropped a berry in my glue pot. I have to fish that out in a little bit. Okay, now let's do the bow real quick. So let's go up this level here. Go. Remember, we put 2 in the bow. Here's our second one. There we go. And I did the one below the bow, so keep turning it. Back to the big balls. Make sure that those go in. A cluster of small ones here. Okay, that's the one I started with. We are all through gluing those in. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to turn off my ring light and see if that will help you be able to see it a little bit better without that ring in it. No, it's not bright enough at all. I've got to say, if you're still with me after this whole, all the things we've gone through on this with my dogs and me taking a break to give them a bone, you are champions. I'm sorry for that light, that ring light. Let me lift it up. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay. How is that? But there you have it. This is made with the November subscription box. It's called the seasonal box from Trendy Tree. I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope that this inspired you, and I really hope that it gets you interested in the Trendy Tree seasonal box. I think you'll enjoy it. You can start it and stop it anytime you want. So if you get one box and you're not happy with it or you changed your mind, you can always end your subscription, no problem at all. But I truly enjoy the box. It's a little bit of a gift to me every month, and they never disappoint with what's in the box. So thank you very much for spending your time, and good wreathing for the future.